Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whenever you're tuning in. This is a long-awaited episode of Backyard Buckets. We've had some scheduling things on Thursdays, but I think we're going to start to get into a regular rhythm, especially now as the NBA season is in full swing and the college basketball season started last night. So I got I got Bentley with me. Ryan's out in Vegas having a good time. Wish him the luck. I know he's not having the best of times. He's on a work thing, but hopefully he gets to enjoy the evening. Bentley, how you doing, man?
I'm just excited as a true basketball junkie. It's wonderful to see that both college and the NBA have finally tipped things off. It was I appreciate college being willing to wait till the end of the football regular season and then simultaneously waiting to see who made the bracket for the NBA Cup, or I guess the Emirates Cup now, really just getting the early season NBA stuff out of the way before we lock in and focus on both leagues at once. It's just very, very appreciative to the NCAA.
Yeah, you got a clear runway, smart decision, real courteous of them, especially for the fans and the fans of a specific college program as well. But
yeah, I mean, we're all thinking it. I'll just say it. Duke beat Auburn last night. That's what it.
Right,
I mean,
to open the season.
Number 9 over number 2. Yeah, first game of the year. Truly
Big
incredible.
Win. Big
Cooper
win
Flag as advertised.
Big win to open the season for the Dukies.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's jump into it, man. We've got a pretty big storyline that's developing with obviously the most popular player in the NBA, the most popular franchise in NBA history, arguably, maybe alongside the Celtics. Dad, thanks for joining. And that's the Lakers, man. And LeBron James and what's going on right now. He's minus 120 over his last 8 games. And just in case you need a refresher on what a plus minus rating is, his team is 120 points worse than the other team while he's on the floor. Not in their last 8 games, they've lost by a combined 120 points. When LeBron James, longtime best player on the planet, is on the floor, the Lakers are 120 points worse than their competition over the last 8 games. He's second in the league, worst plus minus. I just want to remind everybody that the Washington Wizards are still a franchise in the NBA, and LeBron James sits second worst right now in plus minus. And there was a little bit of good cop, bad cop coming from their last game here where they got blown out for the second straight game by 40-plus points. The first time in LeBron's career, worst losses back-to-back in his career. Like, it's not good right now for the Lakers. And JJ goes on camera, on a mic, and basically calls out the players, but kind of walks it back a little bit and takes on ownership of it, but then kind of leans into there's got to be ownership on the floor, right? I've got to do better as a coach, but I need ownership. I need buy-in from the players. LeBron's asked the question for a response, and he's like, whatever he said, I'm he's the coach, blah, blah, blah. We've never heard that from LeBron, for one. And two, it's an interesting scenario where you've got this kind of mom and pop, good cop, bad cop routine with LeBron and JJ. And as of right now, the Lakers are they're 12-10 still because they did get off to a pretty good start. It's been bad lately, but they're sitting in the 9 slot, just ahead of the Spurs, just ahead of the Timberwolves. And the Kings right now are kind of within shouting distance of them. As we're looking at like the 9 and 10 spot, the last 2 spots in what would be the play-in if the season ended today. Talk to me about what's going on with the Lakers, man. I'm curious to hear your thoughts about like what is causing this sort of issue for them. Is it roster construction? Are we ready to pile on JJ as a first-time coach? I'm not really sure what to make of this necessarily. I do have some thoughts, but I want to get your thoughts first.
Sure. Probably the simplest answer, right? We'll go Occam's razor route here with our answer to this question, is that LeBron turned 40 and he's in year 22, and the Lakers have constructed a roster that is very expensive, and their best, like their number one option, maybe not best player per se, but their number one option is LeBron James, right? It's Father Time is undefeated, and recent careers, mainly like Alexander Ovechkin and Tom Brady, players of that ilk, have kind of dampened our reality to what aging in sports actually looks like, right?
Yeah.
And even LeBron, right?
Right? He's fought off Father Time for a long time.
Exactly. So this was a conversation that I probably was more ready to have come like All-Star break or April, seeing his ineffectiveness. And it's not on the offensive side of the ball, right? Like he's fourth in the NBA in assists. I would venture to say still a very plus player on the offensive end of the court because he's morphed his career into the fifth variation of the LeBron James player that we know as a point guard essentially now. It's really on the defensive side of the ball is where he's lacking the most, right? And that's just kind of reality. We've all played pickup before, and when you get tired, your legs go out, and you don't play as hard on defense. You don't rotate, you don't chase down shots, like things like that, right? So it's a combination effect of LeBron being just old and ineffective on the defensive side of the ball, which is no fault of his own. That's just human nature, right? Yeah. And then, yeah, exactly, right? Like he's a billionaire, he's 40. I'm never going to say someone's not playing hard, but if anyone has a reason to not play that hard, it's him, right? Couple that with a storyline that we have talked about many times. Is Anthony Davis ever going to be the best player on a championship level team, right? There's guys in the NBA that are like this. First name that comes to mind, Jason Tatum. Is Jason Tatum the best player on a championship team? Well, he won a championship, but he was not the best player in the playoffs, right? Probably not even the second best player on that team going down the stretch. We've said for years, going all the way back to Anthony Davis playing in college, like this guy is going to be a superstar. He's going to be the face of the league. Well, he's now, 31?
Yeah.
And he just kind of isn't that guy. Now, I understand that playing within the shadow of a LeBron James character, being on the same roster as him, living in kind of the limelight that he provides, doesn't allow you the opportunity to really be the face of a franchise kind of ever, right? Because it's always going to be LeBron. But we saw it last year when he played, I think it was 72 games, and he was the best player on the team for the entirety of the season. He really hasn't followed that up. He's been very good this year, don't get me wrong, but like he hasn't followed it up by taking a step and putting his foot down and saying, this is my team now, and I'm going to be the best player. Even with a change of head coach, you thought maybe he would come in, and you mentioned the cohesion there between JJ and LeBron. We're hearing LeBron say things he's never said before.
Yeah.
Thought maybe JJ would come in and kind of shift the mentality of, hey, LeBron, you be the second fiddle, and we'll play through Anthony Davis and let everything run through him. I don't know if that's an Anthony Davis problem. I don't know if he's an issue with him not being able to take that step, right? I'm not an insider. I don't know what is going on there personally, right? But it seems to be there's some disconnect between Anthony Davis actually taking that step to being the best player on the court and LeBron kind of taking the step back. I don't know. That it feels to me like that probably should have been something that was talked about when JJ Redick came in. But it appears it was not, and they're still trying to run everything through LeBron, and it's not working out, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, for sure. I have a couple additional thoughts. I agree with everything you said, and I don't have an answer for whether it's a LeBron thing or an Anthony Davis thing or a JJ Redick thing that he's not yet ready to like be assertive about a changing of the guard, but it hasn't happened. I don't know if it's going to happen, at least not this season. But the other side of this is, why the fuck is LeBron playing 35 minutes a night? And yeah. I can't imagine that is a conscious decision by JJ, because I think JJ is a guy who has talked about like managing star players and managing minutes and yada yada on his podcast and in the studio. I hate to think this way, but it has been kind of his history. Is it feels like a very selfish decision by LeBron to say, I want to play as many minutes as possible and I want to play 82 games. And maybe he's chasing Jordan in terms of like, Jordan was that guy. Even when he came back with the Wizards, like the dude just played every game and didn't miss time and played a bunch of minutes and yada, yada, yada. And it's been chronicled that like he was the guy that led the revolution of taking care of your body to play the game of basketball. He was the first to lift weights. He was the first to do cardio. He was the first to take care of his body, in ways that guys hadn't before. And that has turned into, like, LeBron spends millions, right, on his body every year, cryotherapy and everything else, and nutrition and yada, yada, yada. I don't know if he's trying to chase him, but golly, like, now's not the time to do that. And you mentioned the pickup thing. You get tired. I think he's playing too many minutes. And I think it's taking a toll on his body. And I think it's a carryover effect from one game to the next, and it compounds. He's 40 years old. I'm 40 years old, and I haven't played 10,000 basketball games in the last 15 years, right? Like, he's got to be fucking tired. I don't care how supreme of an athlete you are. He's played so many minutes, so many games. He just played the Olympics over the summer. Like, it is a lot of toll on his body. And I think we're starting to see some of the effects of that, where he is a stat chaser, and we know that. He wants to chase the legacy. He wants to chase all these different sorts of, like, counting stats and whatnot. Where do you get almost all of your counting stats as a basketball player? On the offensive end, right? That's where we see the buckets and the assists and yada, yada. It feels like he maybe has made a conscious decision that I'm going to play as many minutes as possible. I'm going to play as many games as possible. I want to chase whatever it is that he's chasing, and it's a detriment to the team. It's unfortunate. I have a question for you based on that thought. Whether you agree with it or not, you can answer that as well. But do you see any realm of possibility that this is LeBron's last year?
So I was actually thinking about this on my drive home from work in the pitch dark that is Virginia right now.
Yeah.
I think we could see LeBron retire next year. I don't think that's a crazy thing, right? And I'll tie it into what you said. You said that LeBron has been a stat chaser and all that stuff or whatever. Not nonsense, because it's true, right? I'm curious as to what stats he's still chasing. Obviously, he wants another ring, right? Like, everybody wants another ring. Curry wants 5, LeBron wants 5. Like, Kevin Durant, we've seen him jump around. Everybody wants to win another ring. I got that.
Yeah.
LeBron has the minutes. He has the games. He has the scoring title. He's at probably, I don't have them all in front of me, but probably top 5 in assists, top 15 in rebounds. Like, these are all milestones that he has achieved throughout his career. And the most amazing part of all of that is, if we go all the way back to LeBron's, like, first couple years in the NBA, what was the criticism of him? Oh, he's not clutch because he doesn't take game-winning shots. And then years and years went by, and we look back and we realized it's not that he wasn't taking the game-winning shots, it's that he was making correct and winning basketball plays at the ends of games, right? Because he would draw the double and triple team, and then he would kick it to Mo Williams in the corner, and he would hit a shot, or he would miss the shot. But the plays that LeBron would make in the end of these games were game-winning plays. And he still was able to average 27, 7, and 7 for his entire career, right? So, to the counting stats portion of this, your comment there, maybe it is that he just wants to increase the lead he has in all these categories. And that's fine. I'm not going to, whatever, you're 40, dude, go out and get your numbers. But the thing about LeBron James is that he's always been able to accrue these stats while playing winning basketball, right? That is the thing about him. He's such a savant that he's been able to put up these numbers and still win a shitload of games. I don't know that he's going to be able to live with himself if he is still continuing to put up these numbers, but he's inhibiting his team from winning, right? Yeah. Because that, when it comes down to it, there's a small portion of players in the NBA, probably Jordan Poole, who just love to put up numbers and hit on the baddies that are sitting courtside, right? But most of these guys are the most competitive people they've ever met in their entire lives. And all they want to do is go out and win. And LeBron being paramount amongst all of them, in that category at least, I don't know that he will be satisfied with playing non-winning basketball if he's still continuing to put up the numbers.
Yeah, I'm curious how this will progress as the next few weeks go. I think if they're going to have a watershed moment, it's JJ falling on the sword, but also calling the players out. It could be. Maybe that's something that kind of wakes things up. I think another thing is roster construction. And we talk about this routinely with LeBron James led teams, right? he comes in, he tears the roster apart because he wants to go get another superstar or two that he wants to play alongside of. And then they spend the next year or 2 years or 3 years, whatever, trying to build around it. And they got to go chase shooters, right? Shooters have always been the thing that you want to put around LeBron because of exactly what you said. He's always going to make the right basketball move. And if there's guys open for shots, they're going to get shots and he's going to get assists. Right now, like, I know they're leaning on Dalton Connect, but like you can't lean on a rookie to be that guy, right? Like you can't lean on him to be JJ Redick when he was at his peak with like the Clippers, right? When he was just a guy standing around the 3-point line, anywhere on the 3-point line, and he was just going to jack it when he gets the shot, right? Like I don't know what the answer would be, but it doesn't feel like a great roster. Rui's kind of regressed this year as well, which I think is a huge hit for them because he was a big part of their success down the stretch last year when they got hot and chased seeding in the playoffs. But
right.
That's probably a big piece of it. But also, like, Anthony Davis isn't the world beater he was last year for a large part of that season. And LeBron's 40. It's tough. But
yeah, it's a tough spot for the Lakers to be in.
Yeah. So I heard something earlier today, which is kind of what prompted me to like give some real thought to the retirement thing with LeBron. Like, if this is going to be his final season, I think he announces it at the All-Star break if this is going to be his last season, because I do believe wholeheartedly that he would want the farewell tour like a lot of guys get because of who he is, what he's done for the game, what he's done for the league. But also, we do know that nobody loves LeBron more than LeBron. Yep. So he would want that tour. So I think if it's going to happen, I think he's going to announce it probably at like the All-Star break. Maybe it'll be a big event at All-Star weekend, whatever. Like he makes a big to-do about it. I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see kind of how the next maybe month goes with this team, if they can start to turn things around, if JJ's able to rally the troops. All right, let's shift gears. Something near and dear to your heart for maybe not the right reason right now, but the Orlando Magic, when Paolo Banchero went down, we had a conversation about it on the show that we were worried, and it didn't look good right out the gates. I believe they lost the first 3 games after Paolo's injury. Since then, they've been hot as fish grease. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They're 9-0 at home. Magic are surviving without Paolo. What does this mean for the Magic in terms of where they sit in the East when Paolo inevitably comes back? Because we're close to when they said the window was that he'd be reevaluated. I believe it's like the week before Christmas. Mm-hmm. They expect to be his first kind of evaluation. We might not see him till after the new year. It's probably good that they're winning games because they can be very cautious with bringing him back. What is the Orlando Magic ceiling in the East with the way they're playing right now and the fact that they're going to get back one of the best young players in basketball?
Well, the best young player in basketball is still sitting on the sideline, but yeah, he'll be back soon. Glad just had to clarify that for the people out there at home listening.
Yeah, I misspoke.
It's okay. It's okay. It's all right. You also told me Auburn would win the SEC, so.
Oof. Yeah.
I keep bringing that up. I should stop bringing that up. I'm sorry. I apologize, Gary. It's not personal, I promise. It just was funny to me in the moment.
I know.
I like the big swing, though. You got takes. Get them off.
Yep.
So Orlando. Orlando has the 3rd best defense in the NBA by defensive efficiency. And I think they have the 8th slowest pace in the NBA currently in terms of offensive pacing. That's a winning combination when your best player is not on the court, right?
Yeah.
You hold teams to very poor shooting percentages, and you don't take a lot of shots, right?
Take the air out of the ball.
Exactly. It's the equivalent of taking the air out of the ball and playing Iowa State offense. That's basically what they're doing. We're looking at Penn State just in Orlando right now.
Yeah.
So a little bit of optimism, right? Obviously, there's a ton of optimism for Orlando, but when Paolo does come back, here's something to kind of key in on, right? I guess, before he comes back, we can talk about what they're doing. 8-2 in the last 10, right? Incredibly well. They're except for the Knicks game the other night. But they made the knockout round of the NBA Cup, which is not nothing. It's been proven that the players actually care about this, even if the fans and the ratings don't reflect that. But whatever. If the players care going forward, I think that the fans will eventually care as well. Franz has kind of regained what it is that he lost in the tail end of last year, right? He's playing incredibly well as the number one option, at least on the offensive end. And Jalen Suggs is playing like a man with whatever little hair he has left on fire. He's the absolute dog on that defensive end that they needed, and he has been for a lot of his career, but he's really stepped it up this season. I think Dyson Daniels is probably the best on-ball defender right now in the NBA, but Jalen Suggs is right up there with him, and if he were 3 inches taller, he'd be just as good as Dyson Daniels. But that's kind of what they're hanging their hat on, right? They're letting Franz do his thing on the offensive end. Wendell Carter's playing pretty well. Mo Wagner's playing very well. The Wagner show down there. And then they're letting Jalen Suggs and Anthony Black and Gary Harris play just really, really good defense in the at least pressuring the ball with the guard position of the other teams. But when Paolo comes back, here's what I will tell the people. And I had this thought, and then I heard somebody else say it, so it just kind of confirmed it in my head. It's like, if Franz wants to be the number one option on the offensive side of the ball, Paolo is a player who is perfectly okay with that. I watched every single game that Paolo played at Duke when he was 18 years old as a freshman, and he did not want to be the number one scoring option on that team. He is a player who has always been okay with deferring the rock on the offensive side of the ball to another scorer. That's something he has continued in the NBA, but because he is so much better than everybody else on his team, the coaches have asked him to be a little more aggressive on the offensive side, which he has responded to nicely, and obviously is flourishing into like an all-NBA type of guy, future MVP, however you want to describe him, right? If he comes back and the coach says, hey, Franz is cooking, let him do his thing, dude. Paolo is a superstar that's going to be okay with that. He's going to be a guy that says, all right, I'll just go out there and I'll score like 22 and I'll let Franz score 27 and we'll be cooking with fish grease and not have any issues and we'll fucking roll to the 1 seed in the East right now. So if folks are worried about Paolo coming back, and this is something that we talk about often, right, throughout NBA discourse, the star gets hurt, the team plays well, the star comes back and the team kind of flusters a little bit. I don't really envision that happening for Orlando just because of the unselfish nature of the way that Paolo is able to play the position of point forward that he really does down there in Orlando. It also is giving more minutes to some of the young guys, right? We see the kid they drafted, Silva, out of Colorado, getting a little more minutes. We're seeing Anthony Black play a lot more at the point guard position. So it all in all, I will never say that an injury is a good thing for a program. But in this case, it may have been a good thing to get some of their guys who are not as good as Paolo up to speed in this offense and this defensive scheme that they're running down there in Orlando. And it should be clicking and cooking fish grease once he does come back and not have any problems.
Yeah, I think the big thing about that too is, like you mentioned it, you get experience for young guys, but when you're playing winning basketball, that's the best kind of we're without Paolo, but we're still winning and we're getting these young guys more minutes. So it is going well. And the reemergence of Franz has been a pleasant bolstering force for the Orlando Magic, because they would really be struggling to win these games, even with the defense that they play, if they didn't have an actual scoring option. They just don't have another guy on the roster that you can just say, hey, go get us a bucket, right? And that's what Franz needed to be, and that's what he's been. So I'm with you. So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit in terms of projecting forward. So the month is May, the year is 2025, and the Orlando Magic are hosting the New York Knicks for a playoff series in the second round. Who wins? Actually, we'll say first round. They're the 4-5 seed. We'll
sure.
Where they're at right now. Hosting the Knicks in the first round of the playoffs. Who you got?
Oh, man. I have to say Orlando.
Okay.
I have to. I believe in my boy Paolo. And for all of the flowers we give Tom Thibodeau and that defensive staff that he has up there, they're not better on defense than Orlando. Like, they're not. There's only 2 teams in the league that are better than them, and they both play in the West. It's the 1-2 in the West, Oklahoma City and Houston. And I'm riding with my guys. I've picked them to win their playoff series each of the last 2 seasons. I'm going to pick them again. Newsflash.
All right. So now we're in the second round, and we're playing the Cleveland Cavaliers, who currently sit at 1. They'd be on the road for that playoff series. Cleveland against Orlando. You think Orlando can beat Cleveland in a game 7 on the road? We'll assume it goes to game 7, right? Do they beat Cleveland in a game 7 on the road?
for the second year in a row, Game 7, Orlando, Cleveland in Cleveland. Man, that's a tough one. All things equal, everyone healthy. Man, I think I have to pick Cleveland there. Cleveland's so good. They're so good. And they will have guys back that are not playing right now on that roster.
I know. 19-3, and they're not even 100% healthy.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to the second seed in the East right now in Boston.
Mhm.
We'll say Orlando got to the 3 seed, gets to the second round. Game 7 in Boston. Who you got?
Give me Orlando.
I like that matchup. I think KP could be a bit of a factor if he's the KP that he was in the playoffs last year, but I don't disagree with you. I think Orlando can match up pretty well with Boston.
A lot of that has to do with like championship hangover, you know.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult to repeat in the NBA. We see teams win a championship and kind of falter the next season. Obviously, the regular season is working out great for them.
Sure.
And maybe they just don't care about any of these games. Any of the
they could probably just sleepwalk the second
four games they've lost. Like,
yeah.
I like Orlando, man. I really, really like Orlando.
So Eastern Conference Finals is the ceiling for Orlando this year, in your opinion?
Yeah.
Depending on how the matchups fall in the playoffs.
Yeah, I could see them playing in the Eastern Conference Finals.
I like it.
And then I would like to remind the people that during the Western Conference Finals last year, when Anthony Edwards was leading his team on a charge to the Western Conference Finals, I told the folks at home to keep the same energy when Paolo did this next year.
You did.
For Orlando.
You did.
I want to see the same energy out of all of the people at home.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. All right.
Ryan laughed at me.
Yeah. All right, let's shift gears here. Speaking of the Eastern Conference, it's fucking meh. And the Knicks have kind of figured it out. Maybe not. What are your thoughts on the chemistry right now with the Knicks? Because they made the big splash of the offseason, right? You go get Karl Anthony Towns, you pair him with Jalen Brunson, you move off of DDV, you bring in Mikal Bridges as well. What's going on with the Knicks? They're 8-2 in their last 10, right? So we'll start there. They're 8-2 in their last 10, but it wasn't great out the gate. Jalen Brunson is not the singular force that he was last year, but I think it's a matter of trying to get people involved. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Knicks, have they improved their ceiling from last year, or is this still kind of like a cute, you'll win a playoff series, but you're going home team?
Well, they're the most efficient offense in the NBA right now, which is not at all what you would expect from a Tom Thibodeau team. But then you look at kind of the personnel on that roster, and it really is just the addition of Cat and the subtraction of Hartenstein, right?
Yeah.
And Mitchell Robinson obviously not being ready yet. But if you flip it to where it was last year, you have Hartenstein back on this roster, and you just add Mikal Bridges, you kind of would assume they're the best defensive team in the NBA, which they're currently 19th in defensive efficiency, right? So it's almost like a true flip-flop from last year to what we see this year. Unfortunately for them, I think their ceiling is probably the second round, which is exactly where they were last year.
Yeah.
And it truly is just because of the switch they made, right? They were one of the best defensive teams last year. And then you mentioned it, Jalen Brunson being that singular focus on offense, right? That polarizing figure, the James Harden-esque figure that he was in the playoffs. Obviously more winning in the playoffs than James Harden, but whatever.
Yeah.
Also, side note, is anyone loving this NBA season more than James Harden?
Dude.
The Clippers are actually like pretty good too. Like they're not awful.
Yeah, he gets to be the system again too.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. But no, I think the Knicks ceiling is probably the second round. Again, it depends on matchups, wherever the chips fall. If, and I say if because I truly do not know whether this is going to happen with Cat on the team and no Gobert next to him. If Tom can get them up to like 12th in defensive efficiency, while staying in the top 5 in offensive efficiency, then I would say they could win a title.
It's got to be driving him fucking nuts, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Man, embracing the new NBA, not the Tom Thibodeau way.
Nope. Nope.
Oh, well, let's take a look at the West because
what do you think first? What's the Knicks ceiling?
Second round.
Second round.
Second round. I'm with you. Basically every reason you gave. They're fine on offense, which we expected they'd be better on offense, but they're also worse on defense, which I know that I was very vocal about the fact that I thought that was going to be a tough fit with Cat in a defense coached by Tom Thibodeau. He's not an effort guy on the defensive end, really, and he's kind of limited in terms of his ability to really like defend, the pick and roll, especially. He's pretty limited. And I know Thibodeau is pretty demanding on the defensive end. Like it's got to be driving him nuts. But I'm with you. I think second round is probably their ceiling. I don't think their ability to score, I don't think translates to more playoff wins than they had last year. I don't think they're better than Orlando. I don't think they're better than Boston, and I don't think they're better than Cleveland. And they sit in the 4 spot right now. So that's, to me, it's kind of where they're at. I think they're better than if I go from 5 to 12, right? Because I mean the East is so bad. But we'll say 5 to 12. I don't think the Bucks beat them. Hawks, no. Heat, no. Nets, Bulls, Pacers. Like I just don't have any team behind them beating them.
Right.
I just don't think they beat any of the top 3, and that you're out in the second round. So I'm with you. Second round's their ceiling. Yeah, we're gonna talk about the West because James Harden, you mentioned it. He seems really rejuvenated. He can be the system now there because Kawhi's down. Paul George is out of town. I know we kind of expected it to be the Kawhi and Harden show if Kawhi was healthy, but they're playing good basketball, man. They're 14-10, 4 games above 500. They're sitting currently in the 7th spot because the West is fucking bonkers. There's a team above 500 that's not even in the play-in right now. If the season ended today, the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are projecting right now to win 44 games, would be left out of the fucking playoffs. It's unbelievable right now, what the West looks like, because the East and the West at the bottom is really bad, right? There's a lot of chum to be consumed at the bottom of the West. You got the 4-win Jazz, the 4-win Pelicans, and the 8-win Blazers. The Pelicans just can't get healthy. They're a mess. That roster's a mess.
Yep.
But you look over at the East, 6th is the Hawks, are a game over 500. Everybody else is 500 or worse. 3 games below 500 if you don't count the Heat, who are exactly 500. Yep. It is so bad in the East. You got the 2-win Wizards, the 5-win Sixers, the 6-win Hornets, the 7-win Raptors. And it's so bad in the East. But the West is bananas right now. I want to kind of shout out the Spurs a little bit because I was very bullish on them in terms of their over-under number. And I said I had them winning 40-plus games. I thought they were going to finish above 500. I thought they were going to make the playoffs. As it sits currently, they are above 500. They're 11-10, and they are the line for the play-in. So they are the 10 seed right now. As if the season were to end today, they are in the play-in as the 10 seed. How's the West going to shake out here? Because it's crazy. It's crazy to think that like the 12-8 Suns, 4 games above 500 on December 5th, are going to have to go on the road for a playoff series. You're projecting right now to be 16 games above 500 and go on the road for a playoff series. That's crazy to think.
Yeah. And that's a team that hasn't even been healthy all year. Right? Like that's a group that's playing Ryan Dunn, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago. They're starting Ryan Dunn, and he's like playing a contributing role in that offense as a shooter.
Yeah. I don't know where that came from.
Yeah, right. Tony Bennett didn't teach him that. But
no, he didn't.
Excuse me. I mean, you're right. Like there really is not a healthy way to project out the West and how it's going to end up, because Denver is right now the 8th seed, and you have to imagine like they probably figure something out. They don't really have any trade assets unless they want to cut bait on Michael Porter Jr., but with Jokic averaging a 30-point triple-double, you're like, how many games can they actually lose? The Rockets look really, really good. Their roster construction, we kind of we all like the guys on their roster, but we were like, man, do they all play super well together? But yeah, turns out they do. It's working out for them. The Thunder are doing exactly what we thought they were going to do coming into the season, just kind of rolling through everyone. But Minnesota's a team that people were super high on after making that run to the conference finals last year. There are so many above average to really, really good teams in the West, and then kind of one that sits above them all, in my opinion, in Oklahoma City, that it would be a fool's errand to say right now how you think the West is going to shake out, right? I venture to say the Lakers probably don't make the play-in tournament if they continue on with this roster as currently constructed, because we did 15 minutes on LeBron James and why he's playing so poorly. Now it is LeBron James, and he has a propensity for making fools.
He gets the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, he has a track record of making talking heads look foolish, right? Yep. It's kind of been his MO for the last 22 seasons.
Yep.
But Sacramento and up could all be in at least the play-in, to include the Lakers, who I don't think will be, but they could, obviously, right? It's really your Portland, Utah, and New Orleans. You can go ahead and cross those teams off as not being playoff teams. But aside from that, I think everyone is still vying for a play-in or, if not a playoff position, right? To include the Spurs, who you were super high on coming in. Now, Wemby, I believe, is sitting out tonight or tomorrow. He's going to miss the next game. He plays for the Spurs. He plays for Coach Pop. Is he injured? Probably not. But
Pop was the innovator of load management. So
yeah.
I don't know if you could he was the first guy to get yelled at by the commissioner for not taking guys on the road.
Yeah, not even not playing them. He's just not
on the bus.
Tim, Manu, Tony, you stay at the house, brother.
Stay home.
Yeah, go enjoy those San Antonio women, because we know Charles Barkley doesn't.
Charles, we know, doesn't.
Charles quit when he said Wemby is the only person in San Antonio who can't gain weight. Dog, I fucking died when I heard him say that. I was like, that's an all-timer from Chuck right there.
Yeah.
Absolute all-timer.
Chuck will sneak up on you. He'll sneak up on you for sure.
Yeah. But not physically, because you'll hear him coming.
Oh, yeah. You'll hear him. You'll hear him for sure. I do want to give one last shout out in the West. Mm-hmm. Memphis.
Yeah.
14-8.
Yeah.
And Jaws missed time. They're not super healthy. They're a young roster, reconstructed. 14-8. They're doing a bang up job so far in the season. So
we'll have to see if Ja no longer dunking affects the win-loss record for that team.
Yeah.
But
Oh, that reminds me, actually.
Yeah.
I don't want to circle too far back, but LeBron, his shot chart,
mm-hmm.
he's at less than 5% at the rim, which is way, way below his worst ever in his career, which to me is an indication of a guy who is fucking gassed.
It's the legs, man. Yeah. It's always the legs. They go first every time.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Onward and upward. Let's talk NBA Cup.
Yeah.
So we are in year 2 of the NBA Cup. We've got a sponsor this year in the Emirates. And I know we had a sponsor last year, but the Saudis are trying like hell to get their names on fucking everything in Western sports. So the Emirates NBA Cup.
We are available for marketing, Saudis. Yes. This podcast is available for marketing.
Send some but we've completed pool play, and we are into the knockout stage. So emerging from the East, we've got the Bucks as the 1 seed out of there. Coming out of group play, the Knicks as the 2 seed, the Hawks as the 3 seed, and the Magic win the wild card by way of point differential over Boston by way of their margin of victory. So Milwaukee will play Orlando in the first of the knockout stage, and the Knicks will play the Hawks in the first of the knockout stage. Now, the Bucks will host the Magic, and the Knicks will host the Hawks in the first round. In the West, we've got the Thunder as the 1 seed, the Rockets as the 2 seed, the Warriors as the 3 seed, and the Mavericks get in as the wild card in the West by way of point differential over the Suns. Oklahoma City will host Dallas, and the Rockets will host the Warriors. So those are our matchups for the first round. And then obviously after that, we move to Vegas for the semifinals and the finals of the NBA Cup. So I want to ask, because we didn't see changes in terms of format for the NBA Cup, which I think eventually we're going to start to see the way they massage this. But in year 2, we talked last year about we like it. It seems the players do start to buy into it. They seem to care about it. The Lakers won the inaugural NBA Cup. They were knocked out, so they won't repeat as NBA Cup champs. Do you still feel good about the NBA Cup in year 2?
I do, and my opinion on it is not necessarily based off of what I've seen the last 2 seasons from the Cup. It's more what I've seen from Adam Silver and the willingness of the NBA to change things, right?
I like that take.
Of all of maybe baseball, but like I was going to say, of all of the major sports, the NBA has been the most willing to make changes to the actual gameplay and the format of things and how they operate differently, right? We saw it they did it with the bubble. That was something that no other sports league did, right? They moved everybody to one on-site location. The introduction of the play-in tournament at the end of the season, they've changed, and once again, this is something we can talk about maybe next week. But they're changing the entire format of All-Star Weekend. They're having like 3 games instead of 1, or it's a whole thing, right? But that being said, the Adam Silver and the league have shown a propensity for making changes to the way that they do things to do what they assume is an improvement, right? So I'm not criticizing them for doing the NBA Cup, but we talked about it last year, is maybe they push it back so the final falls between maybe the AFC and NFC championship games and the Super Bowl. So there's nothing else on that you're competing with. There's any number of things that they can tweak to it to improve it, right? So my opinion of, do I like it and do I think it's good for the NBA? Yes, because I think that they will continue to tweak it to the viewer's perspective, right? They're going to continue. Maybe the money goes up now that they have an official sponsor with the Saudis, right? Maybe the winning pool is larger for the team, so the players actually care more than they already do. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not an ideas guy, so I can't tell you what is going to make it better or not. But I'm saying I think it's going to be good for the NBA, because I think the NBA will do whatever they can and whatever it takes to make it a beneficial thing for the league and for the viewers at home.
Yeah, I like that take. We know Adam Silver is willing to stick his neck out on things that he thinks is for the betterment of the game. He's also a guy who's not afraid to defer to the players who he believes have the game's best interest in mind as well. So I agree with you. I think we're going to see changes. I think they were okay not knee-jerk changing after just year 1. Mm-hmm. The new sponsor and some of the new things. Can we do away with the courts though?
Yes.
Like I understand the idea of the differentiator, right? Like we want to make sure everybody understands this is an NBA Cup game. The fucking red and the purple and the it's hard viewing. I don't know how it is for the players. I don't know. Like I've never played on a court. I played on one like pickup court that was red. It was like a dark red though, so it wasn't really like disconcerting.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe not, because the eye level's different, but for us viewers, it's a hard watch with a couple of these courts. So it's hard to see like the 3-point line on a few of them. It's hard to see like the paint and like the differentiation for like the free throw line and below. Like it's tough. So that would be if I had Adam Silver's ear and could pull that earlobe and just say, hey man, like let's stop fucking painting these courts wild colors. I understand the idea of the differentiator. I understand complimenting the different uniform that they wear during the NBA Cup. It's a hard watch. It's, in my opinion, it's a hard watch.
Oh, I 100% agree. The yellow that Indiana plays on, oh my dude,
atrocious.
Yeah,
atrocious.
Can I offer you? I just said I'm not an ideas guy, but I have a couple ideas. Can I offer you? I'll run them off real quick. The NFL used to do color rush uniforms on Thursday nights. Can I interest you in color rush?
I would love a color rush uniform. Yes.
Okay. Number 2 idea, probably my last one. can I interest you in each week of the NBA Cup? You do a different decade's throwback jersey.
Oh, that wins. Fuck the color rush. That wins. I want the old Nuggets uniforms. Oh,
Orlando.
Orlando's throwback. Absolutely.
Memphis gets a throwback to Vancouver.
Oh, absolutely.
Toronto.
I'm in. Oh, yeah. Bring back that purple. Oh, absolutely. Yep. That wins. That wins. Give me the throwback uniforms. And we're good. And you can leave the courts brown. Just keep the original parquet.
And then maybe we adopt something from college basketball and we play the championship game on an aircraft carrier.
Oh, that'd be interesting. That'd be interesting. We can get real creative with that. All right. Onward to our final major topic of the evening. We are at the quarter pole of the season. Some teams have played more, some teams have played less, yada, 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 just the way the schedule falls. But essentially, we're basically at the quarter point of the season as we sit today. So we want to run down 4 major awards. We kept this kind of slim for, conversation's sake and content's sake. We're going to talk about our quarter pole MVP, our quarter pole rookie of the year, our quarter pole defensive player of the year, and our quarter pole coach of the year. So I'm going to kick it I'll give Ryan's pick first since he's not here to defend his pick. For MVP, Ryan has Nikola Jokic. He's currently averaging, as you said, like he's averaging a 30-point triple-double. He probably is the only reason that the Nuggets sit where they sit. That roster's been pretty bad. It's been injured. Aaron Gordon's missed a lot of time. Murray still doesn't quite look right. But Jokic has been unbelievable, averaging that 30-point triple-double. I'm going to agree with Ryan as it stands right now. Nikola Jokic, for all those reasons I just stated. I'm going to kick it your way. Who's your MVP at the quarter point of the season?
Well, I'm going to go I'm not even going to say pander pick, but there's a commonality theme in most of the professional sports leagues where you give the best player on the best team the MVP, right? That's kind of been a theme, or you at least need to be like a top 3 seed in your conference. So I kind of stuck with that, right? I went with the best player on the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. I'm going to say that SGA probably deserves the MVP this year, at least to this point in the season. He's 4th in the NBA in scoring at he's just a tick under 30, I think. Yeah, he's sitting at 29.8. So basically 30 points a game.
Yep.
He's averaging 6 assists a game on just an absolutely loaded roster. Every time they need a bucket down the stretch, he's the guy they go to. He creates shots for everybody else as well. He's playing incredibly, incredibly well. He's a guy that when he came into the NBA, I don't think anybody expected him to play at this level, right? He was good in college, but he was not projected to be a future MVP level player. So I think for my money, he's currently the front runner in MVP.
I like it. Best player on the best team too, man. Absolutely. My dad agrees. Throwback uniforms. Yeah. Let's do that. Yep. I wouldn't mind seeing an early 90s Bulls uniform either. The old iconic red with the upside down robot, if you've ever looked at the Bulls logo like that.
Maybe a little throwback blue for Cleveland.
Oh, yeah, the 80s blue. That. I like it. All right, so I like your pick, SGA. I think right now it's probably like a 3 maybe horse race for MVP. I'd lump those two, and then I think I got to give some love for Giannis, who's kind of been carrying a otherwise depleted Bucks roster. So I think it's probably those 3. Maybe you could convince me into maybe 1 or 2 more. But all right, onward to rookie of the year. Ryan has Stephon Castle. Fine pick. I believe he's 3rd currently in odds to win rookie of the year. I like what he's been able to do. I think having a guy like Chris Paul to learn from as well has helped him a ton. And I think it's a good fit there. My pick for rookie of the year, you're probably going to like this. I don't think he's going to win it because I think this team eventually gets healthy and his minutes start to kind of diminish to where he's not going to be able to sustain the numbers he's putting up right now. But if Philly decides they're going to tank for next year, his minutes might stay the same. And I'm going to take Jared McCain, Duke alum, Trinity College alum. He's been phenomenal. What's that?
The Brotherhood.
The Brotherhood. He's been thrust into a role that he was not expected to fill. He was not expected to be a high volume minutes guy, especially where he was drafted as well. Like, not a guy who's going to a team who needs a rookie that's going to contribute a ton with a ton of minutes. Unfortunately for Philly, for their season, Embiid is a mess, and Tyrese Maxey has been hurt as well. And Jared McCain has been thrust into the starting lineup, and he's playing huge minutes, and he's contributing. And he currently leads the NBA Rookie of the Year odds at negative money for Jared McCain. It is sometimes we get to see this like a gem, like pressure makes diamonds, or it can make you crumble, right? It has clearly turned him into what I would consider a diamond. You weren't expecting a guy like this to play like this, to contribute like this. He's handled it. He's managed it. They might be on to something there where they can start to move. Maybe Tyrese Maxey moves off ball a little more next year. I'm not really sure how they're going to manage that, but God, when you find a guy like this, holy shit, what a steal where they got him.
Yeah, steal, man. Maybe they should have listened to our pre-draft show because
we had somebody who was a little high on him.
I think we were all pretty high on him.
Yeah, I think you were the first to kind of break that, though.
Well, yeah, but that's because I watched every game he played in college.
Yep, for sure.
So you stole my pick. I was going to pick McCain because for all the reasons you just said. Pressure makes diamonds. He's thrust in the starting lineup and has played phenomenally. Had 32 the other night, I think.
Yeah.
Just he's going to be a very good player, right? Even if this is like his peak, he's going to be a good NBA player because if this is all he does, he's really fucking good at it.
Hey, NBA teams out there, when you're looking for your next GM, go back and watch that pre-draft episode.
Yeah, a 3-man GM crew right here.
Yeah, oh yeah, we're a package deal.
We can run it and just let Ryan go do the scouting because that's really his thing. He loves it, but that's fine. Okay, so I will go with somebody else then. This is a player I've made a case for in the past. It's a guy I was bullish on coming out of college. It's a guy who has been mentioned on the show already, and you said his team was leaning on him. I'm going with Dalton Knecht. I thought he was the most NBA-ready player coming out of college last season. Obviously, coming at a little older age, going to a situation where we kind of assumed he was going to have to play minutes and score to help keep that team in the fight for the playoff. He's doing just that, right? We lamented the Lakers earlier in the roster construction and LeBron aging and them not really having superstars around him other than Anthony Davis. But you also made the point of shooters around LeBron has always kind of been the thing that has won in the NBA. Dalton Knecht, grade A certified cold-ass white boy shooter. Like, that's what he is. And he can put the ball on the deck and get to the rim. I'm not going to say at will because that's not like his number one move. It's not his go-to thing yet. But that's something I think he definitely has the ability to do. We've seen it happen before. And he's still learning the NBA game itself. I don't see why he can't just continue to get better and better, right? So I said back in March when we were talking about the NCAA tournament that this kid's going to win Rookie of the Year next year because he's the most ready to play in the NBA. And I think that going forward, you talked about Jared McCain maybe having to take a step back because of the health of the superstars in Philly. I think Dalton Knecht might have to take a step forward because of the health of the superstars in LA. And if that's the case, his numbers are just going to go up. Exactly. Exactly. Yep. So give me Dalton Knecht for the year-long award. If you're asking me right now who's the Rookie of the Year, the season ends today, I'm going with Jared McCain.
Yeah. No, I like it. I agree with you. I think they're going to start leaning on him more. I don't think that it's going to be a winning formula necessarily. Like I said earlier, that you don't want to have to lean on a rookie like that for a team that wants to compete at that next level. But, I think they're going to have to. I think LeBron is inevitably going to either have to make a decision to take a step back in minutes, or health might force him to take a step back in minutes or miss time.
Right.
And if that guy misses time, that's a big void that needs to be filled. And as you said, all right, Dalton Knecht's a guy that he can shoot from anywhere in the gym. He can put the ball on the floor. Not necessarily his 1A move is to try to beat somebody off the dribble, but he can. And they might lean on him to the point that those stats start to kind of go. And if, especially if Philly does play those superstars when they come back, and those minutes start to dwindle, then McCain's numbers will, naturally regress to the point that, yeah, you might be right with Knecht, maybe overtaking him as the season goes on. All right, bud. Well, that finishes our major topics. I want to kind of open the floor for you. You got any maybe closing thoughts or anything we didn't cover that you wanted to highlight here at the quarter point of the season?
I kind of hit on it a little bit with the Clippers not being awful and James Harden. He's not the leading scorer, but he certainly is the engine that makes that train go there in LA, right? They're 9th in offensive efficiency and 5th in defensive efficiency. For those that were kind of on the fire Ty Lue train in Cleveland whenever LeBron was there, turns out Ty Lue might just be a really good, he might just be a good basketball coach after all. When Norm Powell is your leading scorer and James Harden is your best player, and you're still in the play-in spot currently in the West, like they're 7th, they have 14 wins, which is 2 more than Golden State does, right? But shout out the Clippers, man. Like, cool new stadium. I actually like their new logo, and their uniforms are pretty clean.
I agree.
If you had told me that they were going to be the 7th seed a quarter way through the season, I wouldn't have believed you. That they're overperforming my personal expectations for what I saw coming out of the offseason.
Yeah, I agree with you that they are overachieving. I think Ryan would agree as well. We were kind of dour on the Clippers with the Kawhi news and the fact that he maybe never plays again. So
he's ramping up.
Yeah. I mean, that's the forever story with Kawhi Leonard. But hats off to them. Like you said, Norm Powell is your leading scorer, and you're 6 games above 500 in the Western Conference. Good for them. Good for them for sure. I want to shout out the other team you mentioned there just a moment ago, the Golden State Warriors. I think Ryan mentioned, like, it's hard to make a soft landing at the end of a dynasty. And I think we sort of all agreed that, like, this is probably we're on like hole number 17 or so for Steph and Draymond, and who's going to carry the torch, or are they going to have to tear it apart? They're playing really well with other pieces. Steph's missed a few games, not a ton, but he's missed a few games. Draymond's been kind of up and down. And of course, he's just getting technicals every fucking night, as he usually does. But they're 4 games above 500 in a tough conference, and they had a little bit of a skid recently, but they were right up there among the top in the West for a good portion of the beginning of the season. Steve Kerr is doing a bang-up job. I have to give him credit for doing what he wouldn't fucking do last year and leave Podziemski in the goddamn starting lineup. He can play. Leave him in the lineup. Leave him in the lineup for the whole season.
Yep.
He's a guy that needs to get bulk minutes for that team. But hats off to the Warriors, man. They seem to be right now at least elongating the window that they have with Steph Curry. Now, I'm not saying that I'm calling them a championship contender today, but you're 4 games above 500 in the West, projecting to be a top 5 seed, maybe, right? If you can continue this trend, you not too bad a job for Golden State so far.
Yep. One last shout out. The Wizards are currently down by 35 points to the to the Dallas Mavericks. Never fear, Gary. It's okay, because college basketball season has started, and if you would like to see the next NBA superstar play ball, tune in to watch Duke, because future Washington Wizard Cooper Flagg is as advertised.
Can we fucking please win that goddamn lottery? Oh my God.
Please, dear God. Please. Or watch Rutgers, because they have 2 guys that could end up on Washington's roster next year.
Fair. Or old boy down in Auburn, too. You saw him last night.
Yeah, the lefty.
Yeah, the lefty's fucking good.
Yeah, I don't want him because he's my size.
Yeah, he's tiny. Broom though, Broom's not bad.
Yeah, but Broom.
He's not.
If we end up with Broom in this draft,
yeah,
I might just be done with Washington.
Yeah, because that means we finished fucking 12th out of 12.
Yep. And then made a bad pick.
Team, though. But
Auburn is. I think Auburn's the best team in the country.
I actually said that last night to somebody. I said we might have watched the national champion play at Cameron Indoor last night, and he's like, I don't know, Duke's not handling late game situations right. I was like, buddy, I was talking about Auburn.
They're so good.
I think both those teams could be Final Four teams, though. Honestly.
Yeah. Oh yeah, easily.
I think they could easily be Final Four teams, but I agree with you. I think Auburn might be the best team in the country.
Yeah,
they are
100%.
So fucking good.
They
can shoot.
They should have won that game, and they probably should have won it by a lot. They were up, 11, like 2 minutes into the game, and then started getting into foul trouble.
Yep. Yeah, they were getting into foul trouble bad, and that really hurt.
Isaiah Evans went nuclear from three in the first half. Hit 8 3-pointers in the first half.
Where did that come from?
He didn't play the last 2 games. I have no idea.
He's just like, I think I want to shoot tonight.
I'll take it. I'll take that win.
Keep it going. Keep it going.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had what 8 threes before the half, right?
Yep.
Holy shit. That's crazy. Unbelievable. All right, buddy. Well, hey, let's get out of here. Good episode. Appreciate you. Hopefully we'll see Ryan back next week. I'm sure he's miserable out there in the desert. Bet on black, Ryan. Bet on black.
72 degrees right now out there.
Exactly. I'm in a fucking hoodie in my house, and he's out there in 72-degree weather in Vegas. But for Bentley and Ryan and the rest of us here at Backyard Buckets, this has been another episode of Buckets brought to you by Backyard Sports. Appreciate the comments. Appreciate you tuning in, Dad. We'll see you same time next week. We are out.